Hey everybody, welcome back. Needs More Drums here with another SnowRunner video on Kola Peninsula. Today we're going to do another one of those challenges, so let's get into it. Alright, so today we're doing Tent Situation, and we got to drive and explore the substation and all of these different power lines, these high tension power lines. This is actually going to be a two-part episode because I was like, man, it would be cool to just kind of drive through one of these challenges, and having a whole episode. But I quickly came to realize that this challenge, this is not the easiest one to do. This route is pretty tough, actually. Even in this truck, this is a little top heavy, but yeah, it's actually not the easiest to do. So this is another, just like last episode, I actually recorded the commentary after I recorded the gameplay, because especially for this one, this was the driving was pretty tricky. So I really needed to kind of focus on what I was doing. This one, we'll have a little less random conversation than the last one. I think I'd actually like to kind of, just kind of watch what I'm doing here and explain some of the things that I do, and hopefully you guys might be able to learn something about this game, kind of, get some new tips and tricks on how to drive. So yeah, as you can see, we're off here, just starting out, and yeah, so this deep snow, in this map, snow in this game behaves like mud. It's kind of set up the same way in the game engine, in the game design. So, deep snow will slow you down, and it behaves like mud. So these chain tires really kind of help out. And again, I'm using that one mod, the realistic tire chains mod, and it helps a lot in this map. It makes the game it just makes these maps a lot more playable, in my opinion. And you actually get some traction in the snow with your tire chains on, which, like, as you should, right? I mean, if I got a 6x6 all-wheel drive massive beast of a vehicle like this with tire chains on, I mean, I shouldn't really be struggling too much. And you could see, like, just a second ago, and even probably maybe now, still probably get bogged down in some of this deeper snow. I mean, you'll see many times throughout this video where I get kind of, it's just real slow and kind of tough to get around. So this is the first part where I kind of knew. So when you come up to a place like this, like, obviously you're gonna be like, oh, I can drive up on these rocks, but this ridge here is a little bit too steep to do that. So I mean, as you can see, watch what happens. I'm like, oh, maybe I could do it, and of course not. No, we're gonna flip over and end up in this ravine. Yep, there we go. Okay, so it was so tricky to get this truck out of here, but you know what? I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it. And so using the winch, I mean, you could see, like, that tree obviously is just kind of warped into the rock. That's not gonna work. I tried to see if there's anything else here, and what I actually did was kind of nifty. It's not the best way to get out of a sticky situation like this, but it saved me from having to bring another truck over here. So these fallen trees are actually great winch points. And you can see, like, I found one of those, and I'm like, man, maybe I can kind of get my truck over here and kind of just try to roll it. I mean, it's a lot of trial and error in a challenge like this when you're stuck like this. So I mean, just try to, like, I think with things like this, it's always important to think, like, one step ahead. I mean, I have the autonomous winch on this truck, which is nice, but that means it's not as long. So trying to get myself in an area where there's a few more like better winch points, I think that's really important. So you can see, like, here I kind of looked a little bit, and I was like, those trees kind of tend to break, but this one might work. I mean, if I can get this just enough to where it can start my engine and not stall. And as you can see, like, there we go, there it is. So kind of using the helicopter there as some traction, I just was able to kind of get out a little bit. And yeah, my car is very, very dirty, but wouldn't be a SnowRunner or mud runner without that. So no big deal there. Yeah, this was not too great to get out of. As you can see, this is, like, case in point, like, some of the deeper snow and the mud just mixed together. I mean, this is, like, pretty much like the worst. But I do actually manage to make it out, and in this part, I kind of use the ridge to my advantage. Like, instead of trying to go horizontally across the slope, just going up it vertically, it's not as bad. The only challenge, though, is, as you can see, I need to get myself up on those rocks right here, and that is not going to be easy, because if I don't catch it the right way, then, you know, I'll totally just flip over. And if I do it too much, you know, then I'll end up on that ridge of that snowbank there, and also probably flip over. And as you could probably guess, in true SnowRunner fashion, I end up in the ravine again. You'll see in like 2 seconds here, as I struggle through this. Yeah, I do definitely end up in that ditch. Yeah, this is just not easy. I mean, I couldn't really get traction, even though it's an all-wheel drive, and, you know, I tried even like low gear, and I just couldn't get up over that rock. So I just said, you know what? There's a nice winch point there, and there's a few more good winch points kind of down in there. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna do something that is totally dumb and just pull myself, like, you know, use that winch point to try to see if I can pull myself onto the rock here while I accelerate. Again, you guessed it, it's not gonna work. Well, let's just see what happens here. And there we go. Yep. Told you. So, things like this happen a lot, especially in this game. You know, a route that seems promising is actually not. And this is, you know, one of those times where, like, I just kind of fumbled my way through this. And this whole time I was thinking, like, man, there's that task where you have to get that little cargo right down there. And I have no idea how I'm going to manage to do that. Like, I'll probably just, you know, come in around the other way here. And maybe that'll be a little bit better rather than trying to mess with these rocks, because this is not a good route for any truck. So yeah, miraculously somehow I managed to get out of here. I know it's not the most practical way, but you know what? Again, this is a game, and it works, you know. And so, like, whatever. I know in real life, you know, my car would absolutely be destroyed if I tried to do something like this. But you know what? Like, whatever, man. It's a game. So yeah, you're just kind of fumbling around, try to get these different winch points. And as you'll see in a second, I'm actually eventually able to get kind of around this rock here, and then go into those little trees on the left, and kind of use those as a way to kind of get around this deep ravine. And yeah, like I said, you know, it works. So maybe, you know, just things to consider, like try to think a step ahead, and if you're gonna winch yourself somewhere, just try to make sure it's a place that, you know, there's other winch points. You know, you can kind of use different winch points as a way to drag your car through a tough spot. And so it's important to kind of think a couple steps ahead before just plowing into like a ravine or trying to drive up some rocks. You know, if you flip, like, what are you gonna do? Are there places where you could winch to and kind of, you know, have like a little, always give yourself like a little bit of a safety net, especially in maps like this where, you know, I for the sake of this challenge, like, I didn't recover my vehicle at all. I mean, this is like the first time I'm doing this challenge, so, you know, I kind of wanted to challenge myself and see just, you know, what this map had in store. And obviously, yeah, it's always important to kind of think a couple steps ahead and have a little bit of a safety net when it comes to going through these tough areas. And as you can see, we are just about to make it out here. This is like another thing where, you know, obviously you could tell that the terrain is very, very steep, and, you know, I'm kind of, this car being a little top heavy, I'm a little bit worried that I'm gonna fall, like roll over to the right. So that's why I kind of, before I released this winch from this tree on the left, I kind of made sure I was next to that tree on the right, so that way it can catch me and I don't roll back into that ravine. And, you know, so far, like, it works, right? Again, not the most practical, but, you know, hey, that's my safety net right there. And now I'm able to go through there. A little bit sketchy right here, kind of like, am I gonna flip? Nope, we're not. Actually, we are out. So, yeah, that was definitely fun. I'm definitely not gonna be coming back from that way ever again to try to get into this ravine. That was just absolutely terrible. Yeah, and now we're actually on our way to the first marker here. Just gotta check my waypoint. I'm like, where am I going? Right there. There's the path. Another funny thing about this map is like on the mini map, you know, there's so many pathways and everything, and then when you get actually driving, it's like half the time they're covered in snow, or like there'll be some tiny little track and then it just disappears. It's like you don't even know where the path is. And I think this is kind of one of those maps that's made to be sort of just explored, and you could just kind of go whichever way you think is best. Even like some of these trees, like I think in a minute here you'll see what I'm talking about, but like as long as you can find a route, that's where you need to go. I mean, just try it. It's all good. And here again, having a safety net, definitely just about to flip. I knew that before I tried to drive any further, I wanted to winch myself onto that tree to make sure that I could actually get through this without stalling my engine and flipping over. Pretty successful there. Yeah, and then this is nice. It's like, oh man, what a relief. some flat ground. Wow, who would have thought? But yeah, nothing crazy. This is not a bad part of the map. So I guess now, fun fact of the day. Let's see. Fun fact of the day today. What could it be? I don't know. Yeah, we'll come back to that because I can think of one, even though I probably got a ton. So we'll see. But yeah, going through here. You know, usually I don't like to go through trees, but I think this was actually the way that, like, this is the path, like through those trees, and you can run over those pretty easily, so that's not a big deal. But like, you know, these rocks, like, just got to be really careful that you kind of hit these in a good spot. I think this one I don't, and I flip over. Yep, there we go. So that's something that you got to keep an eye out for, is like rocks like that. You know, kind of pay attention to your approach, and where, luckily there's a tree there, so I was kind of like a little bit lazy and just was like, you know, if I flip, like I could get out of that pretty easily. And yeah, there you go. Like we're already back to normal here, so not too crazy there. Nothing that we can't recover from. And yeah, this one, you know, I was just a little bit extra careful because now here we are in a very barren area where, like, if I flip now, I mean, there's no way I'm getting out. Even this, like, this terrain was a little bit steep, so it kind of was like, is this right? But yeah, so now we reached our first point here, and now so I was looking, like, on the left, there's all those boulders, and they kind of go down to the path, like, straight ahead here, and I was like, you know, I could have taken those. But that's a real, like, as you can see, I'm like kind of like, can I make it? But just after that, I'm like, yeah, no, I don't want to risk it, because usually those areas are pretty barren, and if I were to get hung up on a rock or something, you know, I would definitely be and flip over, I would definitely be stranded, without a doubt. So definitely not trying to do that. And so instead, I chose to not go back really the way I came. But I think there was another pathway here that was kind of through these trees, and I actually realized that, as you'll see in a second, that this pathway was way easier than the way that I decided to come up to this power line here. So yeah, taking a different route out, and it really was not that bad. I you know, it was because it looked like it was in a forest, and like I said in a couple episodes ago, I think it was in the first episode, where you see me trying to drive through that dense forest and just being totally stupid. Yeah, you know, I'm like, I'm not gonna go through a forest again, like there's no way. But this one actually happened to be really sparse, and was actually way easier than taking that path that the map gives us. Yeah, I was able to, you know, get through here like no problem at all, other than the deep snow. I mean, yeah, this is kind of what I was talking about here, like, you know, the snow. I mean, I'm in low gear and kind of struggling to get through this. It's just, yeah, it's not the fastest, but you know, the terrain's flat, and there's not too many crazy obstacles here. So this is actually not a bad way to go at all. Alright, so here we are coming up on a little bit of a frozen area. Most of the ice in this map is pretty solid, except for that right there. And so it's really, you gotta be careful. You know, I mean, like even that, like I didn't even know that that was gonna break. You just gotta be careful, like I guess going over some of the ice patches in this map, especially like this one's just probably a little pond. You know, it's like not part of the super huge frozen lake, so this ice is probably gonna be a little bit weaker. And even here again, I almost get stuck. So yeah, be careful, you know, with those if you're on this map. Like the ice will get you. And so in my last episode, that truck, you know, driving that crane through the ice was not the best idea. And looking back on it, it's pretty obvious that that was some weak ice. But yeah, this is another tough spot where you know, it's just like there's really no other way out of this. I mean, this rock is just so steep compared to that divot in the water there, and it's like there's just having a safety net and winching to that tree to pull myself out. If I would have flipped over, you know, that would have been a really tough spot to recover from. Actually, not really. I probably could have just winched to that same tree and did fine, but still, you know, always thinking a step ahead. Good planning. Yeah, take your own advice, man. Like, come on. But anyway, yeah, these rocks. This is an area where, you know, if I looking at it here, if I really wanted to stay to the right and, you know, put it in the lowest gear, like a low minus, so that we could actually climb these rocks pretty slow and not, you know, if you go too fast, you'll kind of bounce off of some of them, and that could be really, you know, really bad and flip your car. And especially here where clearly there's like no winch points. I just wanted to take that really slow and try to get through there without trying to, you know, do anything too crazy. And as you can see, worked out there. We are through that because there were no winch points. I mean, there was absolutely no way if I were to flip my truck over. I mean, I was just dead out of luck there. But yeah, again, some more deep snow here. Just, you know, plowing on through, but pretty nasty terrain. I mean, look at some of these divots are just absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, this map is not the best to drive by any means. I mean, look at coming up here, like. Just the banking in this divot here. It's like how I just got to kind of stay to the left and really make sure that I don't go too far up that slope. Yeah, this part coming up here, this was fun. I mean, talk about like unexpected. Just watch and you'll see. Just watch. Yeah, no idea that was going to be that deep. It's hard, you know, because you can't see the terrain underneath, and obviously there was like it was, you know, pretty higher up on the left than it was in the middle there, and so I caught kind of like a little mud hill or whatever you want to call it, like in there, and it just was not great. A lot deeper than I expected too. I mean, that was, thank goodness I have this snorkel on here, because otherwise we would have been definitely stranded and taken in a lot of water. And we did take in a little bit of water when we rolled the truck over. So yeah, you know, that was definitely unexpected. This one, you know, not as bad. We kind of get through that one pretty easily, so not too crazy. So this coming up here, like, this path is looking kind of treacherous. Don't like it. Don't like those rocks. I mean, anytime you gotta go over rocks, it's just like not great. You know, there, like I said, there's a lot of the big the areas with the big rocks. They're just very barren, and so going through here, I wanted to stick to the right to be close to these trees in case, you know, something happened and I flipped over. At least I can kind of pull myself out of it. And yeah, because if I was, you know, in the middle and got caught up on a rock, I mean, I would just be totally stranded, because this autonomous winch definitely can't reach very far. And there, you know, I see something that I did that's kind of, you know, just something to keep an eye out. If you're caught up on a rock like that and you see your truck kind of starting to lean, and, you know, I mean, you guys can say what you want if it's cheating like that. I'm, you know, in the third person view. I mean, I don't. It's just so much easier to. It's very hard to. Since you can't, there's not a lot of great camera motion in the cab. It's kind of hard to see your surroundings in that view. You know, you can't really like stick your head out or out the window or nothing like that. So using the third person, you get a lot better sense to how your truck is actually leaning. And if you see your truck starting to lean like that, you know, instead of just gunning it and saying like, oh, get me out of here, you know, and being like kind of jumpy and impatient, you know, it's really important that you actually just let off the gas and just let the truck kind of roll back to where it was. Like, as you know, you might have seen when I got up on that rock, I let it kind of roll back to the left before I gave it any more gas. Because if I knew if I would have, you know, floored it and tried to get off of that rock and you know, would have probably rolled to the right and flipped my truck over. And this, yeah, I didn't go the right way. I was like, yeah, we're gonna go a different way. So that happens a lot, and it's all right. You know, that's what the map is for. But yeah, you know, again, some pretty nasty terrain. Like look at this. Like, what? Like, you can't even, and the snow makes it hard to see that. I mean, look at that. I didn't even see that massive hole there until, you know, after I drove into it. So it's like, you know, this map is not easy. And then here again, here's the path. It's just this little dirt spot, you know, and it's like there's this little tiny trail that's probably not even wide enough for like more than a bicycle, and here we are taking this massive truck through it. Like, that's fine, you know. But yeah, I know for a couple of these locations here too, I know we have to, for some of the tasks in this map or some of the other challenges, we actually have to deliver some metal beams up here. And so that's going to be really interesting to see, like, how I can get a full truck up through some of these parts with a full load. Sometimes you get some better traction, but I mean, just the terrain, you know, some of these very narrow, almost like you know, these little narrow like canyons and whatever. It's just not very suitable for anything. I mean, look, I'm even struggling with this, and this thing might be as wide as like a truck, but it's still not as big, it's not as long. So, you know, obviously, like, the turning radius of this thing is a lot better than some of those regular trucks. So yeah, we made it here. Look at that. Don't know how we did that, but we did. So that's cool. And now we're just gonna go on to the next one. And this one I don't think was as terrible, mainly because it wasn't super far. But yeah, you know, again, I kind of first impression, I was like, where do I go? Like, is that actually the path? You know, do I gotta go kind of through that little hole again there to try to get to that? And yes I do. So gonna do that in a second. Let's see what happens. Oh, here's a fun fact. Yeah, so fun fact of the day today. I know in my first episode I talked about, you know, some of the drummers that I like and some of the bands that I like. And but fun fact is I'm actually a huge fan of the band Tool. Their drummer is awesome, and actually all the musicians in that band are awesome. Like, they're only a 4-piece, guitar, bass, drums, and a singer. And, you know, their music is not for everybody. It's kind of like, you know, a little bit more metal, kind of heavy. You know, their lyrics are kind of weird. Songs are kind of weird, like some weird time signatures and stuff like that. But overall, they're a really cool band, and they put on a great show. I actually went and saw a concert. Saw them in concert, like, I don't know when I recorded this video, like maybe like a week ago or something, and it was just absolutely awesome. You know, I ended up getting some pretty decent seats, and me and a friend of mine went because we're both huge Tool fans, and we had such a great time. I mean, it was just, you know, I was totally deaf the next day, but to be fair, it was worth it. And I mean, you know, they put on a really cool show, and they're one of the few bands that I see that are really adamant about not recording their concerts, and I think that's really cool. You know, because they genuinely care about the experience that they're trying to deliver in a concert, in a live setting. And, you know, like, I know it's, you know, it's important. Like, they're already a big band, so they don't really need like a social media presence and people posting videos about them and everything. Like, and so that's probably part of it too. But nonetheless, it's like, you know, they want you to, you paid however much for whatever ticket you got, and I mean, you paid a good amount of money for those tickets, and so it's like they want you to, since you paid for those, they want you to be the one to experience that concert, and they want, you know, they feel like when you're taking a video or something or putting something on Snapchat, you're just not fully immersed in the experience. You know, you're kind of worried about like, oh, is this the right angle? You know, is this, am I getting everything in the shot that I want? And so yeah, there was like a strict no phone policy and no photos or anything, except until the last song. He was like, all right, you know, the singer was like, okay, you can take your phones out, you know, and then like, and everybody, you know, everybody got their phones out, but it was the last song, and it's kind of cool. But yeah, it's I think that's really interesting. How what is going on here? Look at that. But we made, again, don't give it a lot of gas. Just let the car kind of do its thing, and there we go. Anyway, but yeah, you know, overall, really good experience. If you're also a Tool fan, let me know in the comments. Super cool. Yeah, if you know, if you are interested, you know, and if you like any genre like that, like rock, metal, and you don't know, and you're not familiar with Tool, I would highly recommend that you go listen to them. Their music just actually got put on Spotify not too long ago, because they were another one of those bands like that was like, oh, we're not gonna put our music on, you know, it was like on, not on anything. The only way you can get their music was like through a CD, and back a few years ago when YouTube, you can actually get a lot of music on YouTube, and now it's kind of not the case anymore. But you know, people just put YouTube videos up of all the albums. But yeah, so I think this is actually where we end. This is the last waypoint, and it's yeah, we made it, and again, this is going to be probably like a 2-part video, because this is pretty crazy. But yeah, thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one. See ya.